Thank you all for listening and watching my videos. Please subscribe and like my channel Master Coolits. Hoping that you will not skip my ads. It's a big help for me by not skipping it. Thank you so much. Dragon Shadow. The Rise.
Zane Martel began to feel a little anxious. His vital meridian spiritual body was halfway transformed, and stopping now would destroy his bloodline. But if he continued, his path of cultivation might end. Being stuck in between meant a drastically reduced cultivation speed.
I might become a good-for-nothing.
He muttered, a look of determination flashing in his eyes. He gazed up at the Cloud9 galaxy, where the devouring dragon, now well repaired, resided. He wondered why the devouring dragon was in the dragon-devouring prison. Was it meant to be awakened, or was it a representation of the celestial body within him? Zane Martel was uncertain and decided not to dwell on it.
Since I can't predict what will happen in the future, let me seize this moment now. Dragon Devouring Emperor Technique, swallow. Dragon Devouring Emperor Technique, swallow.
A cold light flashed in his eyes, and an immense devouring power erupted from his body. It was as if a black hole had formed, swallowing everything around him. Rocks, vital energy, even the air. The stars in the sky seemed to be drawn towards Zane Martel. The black hole at the bottom of the abyss grew larger, pulling the dragon that covered the sky towards him.
I need to swallow this devouring dragon and make it my own bloodline. What a crazy idea.
If Cassius Gray were here, he might lose his mind. Swallowing the devouring dragon? How could he think of such a thing? Though not a real devouring dragon, it was made of the blood essence of countless ancient demonic beasts and the aura of the devouring dragon, emitting its unique oppression. Bursts of explosions echoed in the sky, turning it dark and covering the sun. The devouring dragon loomed above Zane Martel. Suddenly, a shocking devouring power surged from below, transforming into a gigantic hand that shot into the sky. It grabbed the devouring dragon like a doll and pulled it into the abyss created by Zane Martel.
Refine.
Zane Martel's eyebrows tightened. The image of the devouring dragon was quickly refined by him and gradually integrated into his blood through the vital meridian of his spiritual body. He felt weights lifted off his chest. The problem that had bothered him was finally solved. Now, his spiritual body had been completely converted into his bloodline, every drop containing the power of the devouring dragon of the Dragon Clan. Zane Martel stood up and roared to the sky.
Roar!
The roar shook heaven and earth, and the sound of a dragon came from his throat. Zane Martel no longer possessed the dragon-devouring spiritual body, but the devouring dragon bloodline. The sound traveled through the depths of the universe, its reach unknown. Meanwhile, in a large hall of the Wormhaven Palace on the Mystic Territory, a man in his early 30s sat on a black iron throne. He seemed to feel something, and suddenly opened his eyes. A strong cyclone burst out, and his eyes were filled with doubts and shock. He released a horrifying aura, distorting and destroying the surrounding space.
I seem to feel a familiar aura. What on earth is it? Is it my illusion?
This man was the king of the Mystic Territory and Wormhaven Palace, Garrett Flynn. His senses told him something significant had occurred, but he couldn't pinpoint it. Garrett Flynn had long gray hair that reached his shoulders. His eagle nose and sword-shaped eyebrows revealed a fierce look. As he sat on his throne, the door of the main hall creaked open. An old man slowly walked in, knelt before Garrett Flynn, and spoke respectfully.
Wormhaven Dragon King. The selection of the Dragon Envoy of Wormhaven for the Mystic Territory is about to begin. Do you have any suggestions?
Garrett Flynn waved his hand dismissively, closed his eyes, and replied,
It's up to you to decide on such a trivial matter.
Yes, sir, the old man answered, and left quietly, not disturbing Garrett Flynn's rest. Far away in the Zora Mountains of the northern demon country, Zane Martel was unaware of these events. At this moment, he had advanced to the first level of the expert level. Every movement he made was filled with incomparably powerful strength. He had successfully converted into the devouring dragon bloodline, giving him an unprecedented sense of hunger.
I feel like a devouring dragon. I want to swallow everything in front of me.
Soon, Zane Martel left the dragon-devouring prison. After saying goodbye to Allura, he flew in a certain direction. Before long, the vast and mighty Death Spirit army appeared before him. Their bodies emitted an aura of death, allowing them to revive no matter how many times they died. The bandits of U Continent, who had previously entered, avoided fighting these dead spirits and waited for the month's deadline to pass. As soon as they saw Zane Martel, the previously quiet Death Spirit army raised their heads and cried out, boiling with energy. One by one, they rose into the sky and rushed at Zane Martel like a flood, hoping to swallow him. Roar, roar! The dead spirits cried out strangely as they charged from all directions.
You all are here at the right time. This is perfect. I was just worrying about where I would get some food, and you have brought yourselves to me. I won't hold back then. Devour.
Zane Martel opened his mouth wide, and a powerful suction force burst out from the depths of his throat. He rolled up and swallowed hundreds of dead spirits around him. The suction grew stronger, pulling in dead spirits, mud, and skeleton remains from the ground into Zane Martel's stomach. Puff, boom, roar. As the hurricane blew, tens of thousands of dead spirits on the ground were swallowed up by Zane Martel.
I'm finally full. This should be the biggest change after refining the dragon-devouring bloodline.
Zane Martel didn't know where the dead spirits and other things he had devoured had gone. Had they entered his stomach or been instantly refined? He wasn't sure. All he knew was that a surge of vital energy and special energy was pouring into his body, filling him with power. Half a month later, the appointed time finally arrived. Near the largest Bone Mountain range in the westernmost part of the fiery furnace blood prison, hundreds of thieves had gathered. They looked haggard and worn out, having had a difficult time over the past month. After entering the fiery furnace blood prison, they hadn't gained any benefits. On the contrary, they lost many men and lived in constant fear. The threat of the Death Spirit army forced them to move and change locations frequently. What would happen now that the appointed time had arrived? How would the exhausted thieves face the challenges ahead? And what new trials awaited Zane Martel with his newfound power? It had been a few days since anyone saw the dead spirits. The oppressive silence was unsettling, especially after the chaos they had endured.
It's been quiet. Those dead spirits were fucking annoying, showing up in armies with no way to get rid of them. They did so much damage.
Where do you think they went?
I don't care. I just hope they don't come back before we leave.
At the base of the largest corpse mountain, several groups from different camps gathered, the air thick with tension. They were no longer fighting amongst themselves like they had initially. The dead spirits had forced them into a fragile truce. Unity had become a necessity to fend off the larger threat. Unknown to them, the real reason the Death Spirit army had vanished was that Zane Martel had been devouring them in large numbers, consuming hundreds of thousands to quench his insatiable hunger. Through this, he refined a shocking amount of vital energy, solidifying his place in the expert level. Suddenly, the distant sky began to darken, a thick, ominous cloud rolling in. The air was filled with strange, unsettling howls.
Hey, look, what's that?
The sky turned black, blotting out the sun as it moved toward the pile of corpses. Panic spread through the crowd as they saw the dark mass approaching.
A demonic beast? It's a demonic beast.
Demonic beasts? There weren't supposed to be any creatures living here. Why are there demonic beasts?
Wait, someone's riding on top of them.
As the dark clouds of demonic beasts approached, Zane Martel and Alora appeared, each riding on a strange bird, leading an army of flame claws. Over 30,000 flame claws in the intermediate level and hundreds in the advanced level flapped their wings, creating a powerful gust of wind that stirred up a storm of dust and stones.
It's finally time to go back.
Zane Martel's expression was somber, a heavy weight in his eyes. Despite being cut off from the outside world, he sensed something shocking had transpired out there. He couldn't shake the feeling that their homecoming would not be as simple as they hoped. Amongst the thieves, a sloppy middle-aged man recognized Zane Martel. His eyes widened in surprise and fury as he realized who it was. It was Maverick Frost, the king of thieves.
You little bastard, I'm surprised you're not dead. If you were smarter, you would have stayed hidden in fiery furnace blood prison. But now that you're here, I'll kill you.
Zane Martel looked down at Maverick Frost, his expression calm but filled with an unspoken challenge.
Who are you calling a little bastard?
You! I'm calling you little bastard.
Oh, you're the little bastard? Got it.
Elora couldn't help but burst into laughter, the tension momentarily broken. Maverick Frost's face turned red with rage. He was determined to make Zane Martel pay for his insolence.
How dare a 9th level advanced level practitioner talk to me like that? You're going to regret this. I'll tear your mouth apart.
Maverick Frost shot into the sky with lightning speed, his palm gathering a swirling hurricane of energy aimed at Zane Martel. In an instant, Zane Martel sprang upwards, meeting Maverick Frost's attack head-on. As their palms collided, the air crackled with energy, and the fate of this battle hung in the balance. What would become of Zane Martel and the thieves? The confrontation had only just begun. The silence was shattered by a deafening explosion. Maverick Frost was hurled through the air, landing several meters away with a heavy thud. His arms trembled, barely able to support his weight, and his bones felt like they might snap at any moment. Zane Martel, on the other hand, stood firm, unmoved by the impact, his presence commanding and unyielding.
The expert level! You actually broke through the expert level?
Just a month ago, Maverick Frost had seen Zane Martel advance from the 8th level to the 9th level of the advanced level. To now see him at the expert level was beyond comprehension. The realization dawned on Maverick Frost like a storm. Zane Martel's cultivation speed was unprecedented, a talent unlike any he had ever encountered. Displeasure and disbelief twisted his expression.
Do you really think you can beat me just because you've reached the expert level?
Maverick Frost's voice dripped with malice. He clenched his jaw, anger radiating from him.
I'm at the 4th level of the expert level, and you're only at the 1st. I will kill you today, or I'm not Maverick Frost, the king of thieves.
With a roar, Maverick Frost charged, a massive saber materializing in his hand. It gleamed wickedly as it cut through the air, radiating a deadly light. Zane Martel gripped the sky-killing sword, its blade reflecting a cold, merciless light. With a swift, precise movement, he met Maverick Frost's attack. The sword glow cut through Maverick Frost's saber radiance with ease, shattering it and driving straight through his chest.
How is this possible?
The spectators watched in stunned silence as the infamous Maverick Frost, a name feared across the Glimmer and FA continents, was brought low by a young man who had only just reached the expert level. Fear gripped Maverick Frost as he realized the futility of his attack. His once formidable strength now seemed insignificant against Zane Martel's prowess.
I must escape now.
In a flash, Maverick Frost transformed into a streak of light, fleeing as fast as he could. Survival was his only thought, even if it meant missing the opening of the fiery furnace blood prison passageway.
Do you think you can escape? Suppress and kill.
Zane Martel's voice cut through the air as he thrust his palm forward. From the dense blood cloud above, a colossal black sword shadow materialized, the Bloodstone Blade. The sword, now 3/5 complete, emanated an overwhelming power as it plummeted like a meteor toward Maverick Frost.
No, don't kill me.
The Bloodstone Blade struck with devastating force, creating a massive crater a kilometer wide and hundreds of meters deep. Sand and stones flew everywhere, obscuring the sky. Nothing remained of Maverick Frost but a gaping hole in the ground, a testament to Zane Martel's power. Those who witnessed the scene vowed never to cross Zane Martel. Suddenly, a thick mist of blood appeared at the top of the mountain of corpses.
Look, the passageway has appeared.
The portal to the fiery furnace blood prison had opened. What challenges and revelations awaited them beyond this passage?